Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I'm in the plant room right now, but I won't be in here for long. I'm going to go outside and work on the hardy trees. Everything in the plant room is growing really wild. The sun's coming in the windows and the days are getting longer and everything's growing. But all my tropical trees will have to wait until I get all my hardy trees done. Lately I've been doing a lot of work on my larch trees and some of my cedar trees. I thought we'd do something different, so I think I'll tackle my small leaf linden tree today. That's kind of the ugly tree that hopefully someday will become this beautiful tree. So I'll get that off the bench and bring it inside the greenhouse. I've got the linden tree in the greenhouse here. I'll put it on the turntable and I'll spin it around and we can have a look at it. I've got the tree on the turntable. So this was the front of the tree, and last time I did a video on this tree was a year ago where I repotted it into this mica pot. And I picked this as a back branch for the tree. And I was trying to develop a tree structure up in this section. So I've got kind of my main trunk line coming up to multiple branches. And my idea is to grow this section so it becomes the main trunk line of the tree. And this is sort of a secondary back branch. So I'll rotate the tree around. So there's lots of pruning to do on it. It's got a lot of lichen on the bark, which I think I'll have to take off. And you can see the green buds developing all over it. They're swelling and getting ready to come out for spring. The tree did flower for the last 2 years in a row. It gets these little white flowers on it, and then it develops these seed pods on these little kind of wings. I'll show you those. The flowers are really fragrant on this linden tree. They smell beautiful. So there's like the little winged seed pods, and that one just fell off. And it gets a little tiny brown seed at the end. The seed's fallen off this one, but you get these little wings like that help it land on the ground gently. These linden trees get a really thick, almost corky type bark on the trunks, and I want to be able to see that bark texture. So the first thing I'm going to do today is to brush off all this lichen all over the main part of the tree. Let's begin the lichen removal. Some lichen looks okay. You know, it's okay to leave some spots of lichen on the trunk. It gives a feeling of age. But when the lichen becomes so thick that it obscures the bark of the tree, it can, you know, there's no point growing a nice bark texture on your tree if you're going to cover it up with lichen. So you've got to decide what's more important. You know, that crackled bark on the trunk of the tree or that coating of lichen. And so maybe somewhere in between is best, leaving some lichen on the trunk, but not enough that it obscures that nice bark kind of texture. This trunk was, you know, perfectly smooth when I first got this tree. I collected it from some tracks that they were tearing up, so this tree would have been destroyed if I had left it in the ground. So I saw it there and I thought I better get that out before they start tearing up the tracks, and I dug it up, and then the next time I went out there everything was just dug up. So it's a good thing I got it when I did. And yeah, it was a fairly young tree. I've had this tree for a long time. I would say probably close to 20 years now. It's one of my first collected trees, and it was a lot taller when I collected it, and it kind of died back after the first repotting to kind of a stump, and I've been trying to grow a tree out of it ever since. And I think someday it'll get there. There's the beautiful sun coming out. It's so nice working out here in the greenhouse when the sun's shining. I just love it. There is a playlist for this tree. If you go to the main channel, you'll see a tab playlists, and you look for the playlist Small Leaf Linden Bonsai, and you'll be able to see previous videos of this tree, some of the carving work I did here, and the repotting. I think there's been 2 repottings on the channel now of this tree. So the tree, because it was just repotted last spring, it won't need repotting this year. It'll, I can wait probably another 2 years. So 3 years between pottings. And I think by then the roots will have filled the pot here and it'll be time to repot again. I'm going to move these stones. I put these stones, you know, around the tree to anchor it in the pot until the roots got established, and they've done that. The tree doesn't wiggle at all now, so all these stones can be removed. Even some of these newer branches are getting lichen on them. And the lichen generally doesn't hurt the tree. If you get it too thick, it can cover up the development of new buds, so it's not a good thing, you know, if you want to develop back budding, say back here. The lichen might obscure the buds so they don't get any light, and you may not get back budding there. So it's best to scrub it off. And I don't know if this tree will look quite as ancient when I get this lichen removed, but you know, it'll always grow back in again. It doesn't take that long to grow in. Probably by the end of this year it'll be another thick layer of lichen on it. This tree is years off, you know, developing the final structure on it. It's, you know, I'm just starting this structure. It's upright structure on it, but it's got a good start. I mean, the roots are sorted out. You know, I got a style picked for it. It's on its way. It's after many years, it's finally kind of settled down to its bonsai life. And the reason I got a lot of dieback on this tree originally was I had to do a lot of root pruning. It was growing in the gravel of the railroad tracks, and they're abandoned railroad tracks. Never play or never dig near a live track. It's too dangerous. So the roots were going down in the gravel and they were quite deep, and I had to sever a lot of roots to get it out of the ground. And I think the tree reacted just by killing off the entire top of the tree. It just didn't have enough roots to support all that foliage, so it just died. And luckily, part of the tree survived. You know, the good part of the tree, the main trunk here. So, you know, it's maybe not the original styling I had intended for this tree, but you have to adapt. If your tree's not, you know, if it dies off, you've got to adapt and try and keep what's left alive and try and make it into something that looks really nice. And I hope someday this will be a nice looking tree. Right now it just looks old and twisted, which is kind of a good look. I think once I get a structure up here, it'll be really awesome. That's the plan anyway. So I can see, you know, maybe this tree's starting to look really good in maybe 10 years. I think the structure will be developed enough here that 10 years from now people will go, wow, is that ever a cool tree? Hopefully. We will see. Time will tell. The reason I'm leaving so many multiple trunks in this area is I want to develop the root system that supports this part of the trunk. So eventually, as this grows stronger and stronger, I'll start pruning away some of these upright trunks to get a more of a simple trunk line. So that's just to build vigor in this section of the tree, which it's doing. It's this section is thickening up and growing quite rapidly. You can see the older parts of the tree here are getting some really nice bark on them. And that was all covered up by lichen not too long ago. There's a close-up of some of that nice bark that was underneath the lichen. At the base of the tree, there's also moss near the roots here that I'm scrubbing off to get that nice and clean too. At the base of the tree, you can see the nice surface roots developing. With the next repotting, I'll probably raise it just a little bit in the pot. I don't want the surface roots to overpower the tree. You want a balance between how much of the surface roots you show. I've seen many a bonsai that's planted too high and the surface roots look kind of artificial looking. Most trees in nature, the roots are safely in the ground and you only see a bit of the flare of the surface roots. And that's the look I want to go for, is a natural kind of look. Out at the tip of this branch here, I've got the two main parts of the branch, and then between it I have this thin shoot that comes out and goes vertical. And I can't scrub the lichen away on the inside because of this branch is in the way. And I don't want this branch, so I'm going to prune it away. Alright, so here I go. I'll come in here with the branch pruners and try and get in right to the base of that branch and prune it away. Like that. So now I can get in here with the brush, scrub that lichen away. As I've been working on the tree, removing the lichen, I've noticed that this may be the better front. It has a nicer root base from this view. And the only reason I didn't pick it as the front before is that this main big branch comes towards you and kind of it made this new section less noticeable, whereas on this view the trunk line is more towards you. So I don't know, it's quite possible that this could be the new front of the tree eventually as this thickens up and gets a structure to it. I've got this one branch coming out the front which should kind of complement this other one on the left hand side. So there's a lot of possibilities, but it definitely has a nicer root base from this view. The root base from this view, it has like two big thick ones here, which I tried to get them as radial as possible, but it doesn't have all the multiple surface roots like this side has. So yeah, it'll be a decision to make someday, which will be the front of the tree. So I'm just about done removing all this lichen. I've just have a few spots left here, and I think I've got a lot of it off anyway. A lot of the thick stuff. There. Yeah, that'll do. I'm going to start pruning this branch, and I don't want all this vertical growth. The branch is sort of horizontal or even slightly cascading, so I don't want it to suddenly sweep upwards. So I've got to decide what to keep, and this branch here is looking really weak. There's a couple of green buds there, and there's sort of a couple of buds that are a yellowy color here, but everything else on that branch is dead. I think that branch is weak and it's dying. These powerful shoots here have kind of taken over. So I'm going to remove that branch. I don't see a future for that branch. It's too weak and looks like it's going to definitely die. There is the possibility if I prune these two whips off that the strength would go back into this main trunk, but maybe not. I find with this kind of weaker growth, it's just better to remove it and work with the stronger growth. Once a branch gets that weak, it's usually too late for it. So I'll remove that branch. I'm going to come in here. Yeah, and off it goes. Just like that. So for the stronger ones, I'm going to cut them back quite short here and here, like that, and hopefully we'll get shoots coming off of those and further develop them. I'm always looking for flow lines in the branches. They should gracefully flow out, no sharp corners or anything on a deciduous tree. So there's a branch here that's coming 90 degrees to the main branch, and it's going almost straight up, so I'll remove that entirely, and it's going between these two branches. I've got a dead bit of this branch I'm going to remove, like that. The buds on this branch look really healthy, so there's a dead bit here I'm going to remove, like that. And everything else on that branch looks really healthy, so I've got a bit sticking up here, but I've got a live bud down here, so I'm going to take that vertical part off, like that. And I've got kind of a weird junction here, and I'm thinking maybe that one has to be removed entirely. It's kind of growing between these two branches, and it looks really strange, so I'm going to take that off entirely, like that. So now I have two branches coming out, dividing from 1 to 2, from 1 to 2 here, and dividing here. That's a dead part I can take off here. So that branch structure is in good shape. Well, let's go around to this back one now. I'm looking at the back branch now, right here, and I've noticed that this whole section of this branch is dead. There's no buds on the tips, they're all dried up. So I've got to remove that dead branch. So I'll come in here and prune it off nice and flush, like that. I have no idea what caused that to die. Maybe it got shaded out by this upper canopy a little bit. I'm not sure. I'll take off this vertical growth here and here, like that. And then I got a dead branch here I can remove. There's a dead branch here I can remove. And one here. I just broke off. Bit I can remove the tip there. This part is dead, so I can take that off. Just looking for live buds. There's a dead one here I can remove. Dead branch here. One in here. Clean this one up. Oh, better get in better than that. Like that. And this one, it's I think the one section of it might be alive. It's pretty weak looking. I'll leave it for now, but another dead one down there. Now, it's kind of growing vertical, so I have to decide what to do. Let me look at it from the front. Yeah, I think I'll have to leave it. I don't have any buds coming off lower, and I don't want to remove this entire top and just leave this one branch, because that could cause this whole branch to die back. So I'll leave that. It looks okay. It's not, kind of flows nicely anyway. So now I want to get some of this structure sorted up top here, and I think this branch can be removed. It's kind of crossing the trunk line and it's weak, and I don't need it there. So that's gone. I think I can remove this vertical part here. It doesn't look so good. So off it comes, like that. I can remove a vertical part here. I've got a horizontal bud down lower. So that can go. And then I've got a branch going towards the inside here that needs to be removed. There's a dead part here that can go. And this one on the inside can go. Dead one here can go. And I don't want to do a lot of pruning up top, because I want this to grow and thicken up this section of the tree. And then, you know, maybe 3 or 4 years we'll come in and do a hard prune on these branches, and it'll sprout all kinds of new growth and start developing this eventual canopy, which will probably be somewhere up here. Yeah, so I'm going to leave all this to grow and just, you know, thicken up. So I'm not going to prune the top, realizing that later on we'll do this, you know, major trunk chop to get these branches back in check. I think that's all the work I'll be doing on the linden tree today. It's ready to grow in spring, so I'll put it back on the bench and let nature do its thing. Let's go in now and have a last look at the tree before it goes out on the bench. Let's go in now and have a look at the tree. I think this, you know, other side over here will definitely become the front of the tree. It's just got the nicer root base. Looks much more miniature.
And I think, you know, as this part of the tree thickens up, takes over the trunk line, I think it'll look really good. And it kind of leans towards you too. I don't know what'll happen to this main branch. It has a lot of deadwood here. I kind of did a bit of carving in the past to make that look better, and it might just rot away and this whole branch could die in the future, and then, you know, the main trunk line would take over. Sort of a natural evolution for the tree. So yeah, it'll be an interesting tree to follow in the future, to see what happens to my small leaf linden, how it evolves and gradually becomes a better and better bonsai. At least that's the plan.
It's time now for today's update.
Today's update is that giant yew tree I dug up from the backyard, and I must have pruned too much of the roots off, and it's not looking good. So this is what the upper canopy looks like in spring. There's maybe a slight bit of green in here, but not very much. And all the other main kind of trunks have died off. So I'll leave it until kind of, I don't know, late spring. And if it's not growing by then, I think I'll dig it out. And I've got a couple more yews out front in the garden. I'll show you those, and I might plant those in this training pot. Here's the two yews here. One's a great big one. You can see the trunk down there. And the other one's a little, you know, less full up top. So those are two yews I can dig up and put in that training pot if that other one doesn't live.
It's time now for an update on the orchard truck. I'm out here once again in St. Mary's for our weekly truck update. Let's go inside and have a look. Well, here we are. Here's the truck. It is looking like a truck once again. The front end has gone on. That's been assembled. This is the new mount up front here. They've redone all these mounts with new sheet metal, so that's nice and strong now. You can see that both sides. Looking really good. So the reason that had to be reinforced was it holds the hood hinges. You can see them over this side. So that had to be really strong. Otherwise your hood could fly off. There's the engine. Wow. So they've started grinding around the windshield here. So that'll get primed and painted before the new windshield goes in, and they've got to do the body work up here still. But yeah, the front end has been reassembled. Looking cool. The back end, I don't think there's a whole lot of changes here. Not much in the interior yet, but that'll be coming. There's my old gnarly tire. The fenders are still here, the front fenders, they've got to get painted still. I think the back end is all together. Yeah, still looks like an old truck. Kind of looks small compared to this Freightliner. But yeah, it's sitting on the ground now, all by itself. Really, really looking good. Really pleased with the progress on the truck. I like the way it sits on the ground. Yeah, that's just awesome. All right, well, we'll be back out here next week for another update. That's all the work I'll be doing on my small leaf linden for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.